On Wednesday, Chancellor Rishi Sunak told the CBI this.
There is no measure that any government could take, no law we could pass that can make these global forces disappear overnight. The next few months will be tough. But where we can act, we will.
Sunak is, of course, right in one sense. The next few months will be tough for a lot of people. And this is key, it will not be in any shape or form difficult for him. That fact was made abundantly clear by Rishi Sunak becoming the first frontline politician ever to make it onto the Sunday Times rich list. The combined wealth of Sunak and his wife, Akshata Murthy, makes them the 222nd richest household in Britain. And the Sunday Times report that. Although Sunak enjoyed a fruitful career in the city before entering politics, the bulk of his household's wealth stems from his wife Akshata Murthy and her £690 million stake in IT giant Infosys. According to the Sunday Times, Murthy's holdings in the company her father founded should have earned Murthy £54 million in dividends over the past 7.5 years. The rich list, which measures identifiable wealth, whether in land, property, racehorses, art, or shares in publicly quoted companies, puts the Sunak's net worth at £730 million. Speaking to Times Radio, Dominic Raab said we should celebrate the Sunak's good fortune.
He's a fantastic example of someone who's been successful in business, who's come in to make a big impact in public service. I think we want more of those people. I think it's fantastic that you've got someone of British Indian origin showing all people in our country that you can get to the top of politics. And frankly, I think if I understood correctly, the Sunday Times rich list was a reflection of not just him, but his wife. And to be honest with you, his wife is an incredibly successful entrepreneur in her own right.
She's an incredibly successful entrepreneur in her own right. She has a bunch of shares in a company that her father founded that are worth £680 million. That's not entrepreneurship. This is the Tory definition of entrepreneurship is you were born into a very rich family who bequeathed you a load of very valuable shares. And then you did some sort of odd business jobs on the side. And then you get to call yourself an entrepreneur, even though all your actual wealth is just something you inherited. Aaron, what do you make of this story?
Well, the thing you just said about Dominic Raab, I mean, what it's an imbecilic, stupid thing to say. Her father's worth $4.4 billion. He's one of the wealthiest people in India. And she's earning dividends off of her stake of equity in a company founded by her father. There's no entrepreneurship there. The only entrepreneurship between Rishi Sunak's wife, the entrepreneurship there was when, his spermatozoa fertilized her mother's egg. Okay? The rest is good old-fashioned nobility and blue blood. There was no graft involved when you're saying, I will say to my daughter that you can have, a 0.93% stake in the family business. And in relation to Rishi Sunak, this is a guy who didn't go, it's not true to say that he went from business into politics. He went from Goldman Sachs into politics. And I think there's a very important distinction to make there between the two. People hear the Tories and think Rishi Sunak, slick hair, nice suit, looks the business. He was in business. He wasn't in business. He was an identikit, formulaic guy who does that thing of going from an elite private school to an elite university, who walks into the city of London. He's not adding any real value to the economy. 101,000 people act, think, talk like him, and yet he's being presented as something a little bit different, adding so much value to the body politic. Of course he's not. It's ridiculous.
It is so how delusional they are. I mean, obviously my intro to Dominic Raab's intervention there, I said he talked about, the good fortune they have. But obviously Tories cannot say this was good fortune. They have to pretend, as you're saying, Aaron, that these are fantastic entrepreneurs. Rishi Sunak, as you say, he went to Winchester, right? He's one of the sort of 0.1% in this country. And then he just did what the 0.1% do, which is go to Oxbridge, go to a fancy American university, and then work in a financial firm. There is no creativity there whatsoever. That is just landing on your feet when you had a very lucky start in life. And his wife is exactly the same. As we've said, she did not create that company. She just got those shares of her father, who made it himself. I don't know what his backstory is, but hers certainly doesn't require us to have that much gratitude towards her innovative skills. Aaron, my sense here is that backgrounds of politicians don't necessarily matter, but in certain contexts they can. So obviously the fact that Rishi Sunak was super rich, that was never a secret. And I think people didn't really mind when he was the politician who was handing out furlough money and was seeming relatively generous. Now he's the person who, as we saw in that clip that we started this segment with, he's saying government can't do everything. This is going to be tough over the next few years. And, to some extent, you're going to have to get used to that because that's just life. I feel like if you've got a chancellor who's giving you that kind of message when he's part of the 222nd richest family in the country, is worth 730 million, that's a difficult line to deliver, isn't it?
I think it's very difficult for that line to land. Say, we can't do anything when you're in the top 250 wealthiest households in the country. And to go back what I said previously to Michael about somehow he's so special and he has this flair. Absolutely not. In the United Kingdom, Canada, UK, across Europe, every year there are tens of thousands of people doing what Rishi Sunak did, which is going from elite schools, lycées with their international baccalaureates or their A-levels, or high schools in the US, elite private schools in the US, going to one of 25, 30 global universities, then going to another global university like Stanford or Oxford or Harvard or Caltech or INSEAD, and then going to work for a consulting business or a bank. There's an army of these people, okay? And they all think the same thing. They all shop at the same places, and they all think they're like incredibly unique. And I'm sure some of them are, remotely interesting people. But the idea that, he's like, I don't like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, but they've done something specific, right? Elon Musk is a guy you might not like, you might not think he's particularly intelligent or whatever. I think people overcook that, but whatever. He founded a company. It has a bunch of things. Tesla is obviously completely overpriced, but it's obviously also a successful business. He co-founded a business. Although, when he walked in, it did have no IP, it had no fixed capital. He is a founder of Tesla. Jeff Bezos founded Amazon. And I think when you hear conservative politicians talk about the entrepreneur, it's Rishi Sunak one day walked into a business with, some old used chip paper and a £5 note, and he managed to turn it into £1 million business. No, he walked into a machine, a global machine, staffed just like thousands of people like him, which is based upon the generation of local, national, and global inequality. That's the machine. Whether it's McKinsey, Deutsche Bank, Deloitte, HSBC, Goldman Sachs, that's what they do. That's not entrepreneurship. You're a little lemming in a little computer game, which is about financializing the whole of our planet, which is destroying it, by the way. That's what Rishi Sunak did. I don't quite understand the entrepreneurship there. Somebody might be a Tory voter and they started a sandwich shop, or they're self-employed and they're an electrician. They're more of an entrepreneur than Rishi Sunak. So even though I don't agree with them voting Tory, I want to almost shake them and say, my God, you're exactly what this huckster claims to be. So why the hell do you want him in number 11 Downing Street?
All this fuss was made about him. Rishi Sunak, he's young, he's good looking, he's the future of British politics. What has he done as Chancellor? I mean, yeah, there were some policies which, historically look special when you look at what Britain did over the COVID pandemic, but it was very similar to what every other developed country did during the COVID pandemic. And it was exactly what, the opposition was suggesting when it came to things such as furlough. The moment that pandemic has gone, he's been the most conventional Tory Chancellor imaginable, like a proper cookie cutter job. What am I going to do? I'm going to offer to cut taxes, and I'm going to say that when you're feeling hard up, there's nothing I can do. Like it's just 101, really, really dull Tory who doesn't have any ideas other than just what they were probably taught at those elite universities and what their biography of Margaret Thatcher told them is a good way to behave in politics. I mean, what's his innovation? What has he brought to politics, Rishi Sunak? I can't think of anything.
He's 40 years old, quite thin and Asian. That's it. That's it, isn't it? Michael, let's be honest. If he was bald, 60 and a white guy, people know this guy. We need, but because he's 40 and thin and Asian, this is the new politics, the 21st century Britain. 21st century Britain looks a hell of a lot 1980s Britain in terms of, government saying, well, we can't solve your problems. Or like Norman Tebbit, we're hearing the exact same lines from Tory politicians. We can't do anything on pay. If you want more money, go work harder. Norman Tebbit said the exact same thing. Get on your bike and go look for a job in the early 1980s. What's changed? The messengers are a bit different. They've got nice skin. He goes on the Peloton for half an hour a day. Apart from that, the substantive politics, which is what actually matters to people when they've got to pay the bills or to pay the mortgage, or they're worried about how much debt their kids are going to go in when they go to university, not much has changed. No, nothing's changed.
All of us here at Novara Media are working harder than ever to keep scrutinising establishment politicians and the media barons who protect them. We don't have billionaire funders. We don't have advertising partnerships. We're funded entirely by you. If you've ever thought about supporting us, now's the time to go to novaramedia.com/support and donate anything you can from just £1 per month. Defy the corporate media. Join our monthly supporters and help build our supporter base to 10,000 strong.